Good morning and welcome to today's maths lesson. Today we're going to be looking at multiplying by 10, 100 and 1000. Now this is something that we have looked at in the past, and it's important that we keep refreshing on this because it's a really key skill for us to use in maths, and it's linked to a lot of different maths units, okay, which will be coming up in the near future. We're also going to take this unit to the next step today, so there will be something new in it for everyone as well, okay, so we're going to make a start now. So to begin with, we're going to have a look at a few questions which I'm going to ask you to do very shortly, but first I'm just going to go through a couple of these with you. So if we look at this first question here, we have got the sum 3.54 multiplied by 1000, or 3.54 times 1000. Whenever we are timesing by 10, 100 or 1000, we do not need to use the formal method of multiplication which we would otherwise be using. Instead, we have a little bit of a shortcut for this. Now, the first thing we always look at in this sort of question is the operation. In this case, it is a times or a multiply. This is important in this type of question because we need to remember the saying, time moves forward. Okay? Just like a clock, time moves forward. Just like in everyday life, time moves forward. In our maths question, time moves forward. The next thing we look at is the number which we are timesing by, and in this case it is the number 1000. And we need to now count the zeros in 1000. We have 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 zeros. Now this is important because it tells us how many jumps forward we are going to do. In this case we're going to do 1, 2, 3 jumps forward. And I would be making these notes, like I'm making them on the screen, by the question when you are completing it. The next thing we are going to do then, once we've decided and we've seen that we are moving forward because we are multiplying and time moves forward, and there are 3 zeros, so we're going to do 3 jumps forward, is we are going to rewrite the number in the original question. In this case, it would be 3.54. Then we're going to remember that we are doing our 3 jumps forward. Because I've done this little notation down here, it makes that a lot easier for me to remember. I start at my decimal point, I jump 1, 2 and 3. At this stage now, I have moved my decimal point to a new place in the number. So I can cross out and get rid of, ignore, my old decimal point. Now in this question, I also have a gap here under one of the jumps. And in this, if you ever get a gap, you need to be using a placeholder in there. Once you have done that, you are then going to rewrite that number underneath your working out before finally putting your answer into the question. Let's have a look at one more before you have a go yourselves. So here now we have 78.9 multiplied or times by 10. Okay? The first thing we check again is the operation, which this time is a multiplication sum or a times sum, and remember time moves forward. The second thing we look at is the number of zeros in the number that we are multiplying it by. There is 1 0 in 10 this time, so there is 1 jump forward. If we look back here where we had 3 zeros, we had 3 jumps forward. On this occasion we have 1 0, so we are only doing the 1 jump forward. Just like last time, the next thing we will do is write down our original number, which in this question is 78.9, and then we perform our 1 jump forward, always beginning at the decimal point. Remember, if there is no decimal point in the number, the decimal point always is hidden at the end of the number. Here we have moved the decimal point now to a new position, so we can cross out, ignore and get rid of the old decimal point. And at this stage again, we write down our number underneath our working out. Here we do not need the decimal point because it comes at the end of the number and there is nothing else after it. However, if there were numbers after the decimal point, we would have to still include that decimal point and the numbers after it in our answer. Once we have done this, we then write our answer in the correct place to answer the question, and we have completed the question. So now it's your turn. and I want you to have a go at answering questions 3, 4, 5 and 6. So please can I ask you to pause this video there, pause it for a couple of moments until you have answered those 4 questions, and then press play again and we will look at the answers. Okay, please pause the video now. Okay, so now you should have completed all of those questions. So let's have a look at what the answers should have been. Please mark your work that you have completed, please. So the first one that you guys have done is 903.88 times by 100. There were 2 jumps forward, so our answer would have been 90,388. Question number 4, 275.4 times by 100 equals, and again there's 2 jumps there because there are 2 zeros in the 100, just so there were 2 zeros in the 100 for question number 3. And our answer then should have been 27,540. If we look at number 5, this time we are doing 3 jumps forward because there are 3 zeros, and therefore 82.24 multiplied by 1000 is 82,240. And then finally we can see we would have just been doing the 1 jump forward here because there is 1 zero in the number 10, and therefore 3.555 multiplied by 10 would give us the answer of 35.55. Let's have a look at some questions now where we are looking at multiplying by multiples of 10, 100 or 1000. Once again, I'm going to have a go at a couple of these, and then I would like you to have a go yourselves. So just like before, we have a multiplication sum, and this time we have a multiple of 10 that we are multiplying by. We saw earlier that when we were multiplying by the number 10, all we had to do was move the decimal point 1 jump forward because there was 1 zero in the number 10. This time there's an extra step in there because we're no longer just multiplying by 10, but we're multiplying by 30. Now, we should all be able to see the link between 30 and 10, because 30 is simply 10 multiplied by 3. So here, instead of writing 6.5 times by 30, we could instead write 6.5 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 3. And this suddenly gives us a much easier problem because we've broken it down. Now the first thing we would do in this question is we would answer 6.5 multiplied by 10. And this is where we remember what we've just been doing, and we can remember that the times sign tells us we are moving forward. There is 1 zero in the number 10, so therefore we know we are doing 1 jump forward, and we would use exactly the same method as we would before. 6.5, we are going to do our 1 jump forward, in which case we now have our decimal point in a new place. We can cross out, get rid of our old decimal point, and we write our answer underneath. At this point now we have done the 6.5 multiplied by 10, and we have got our answer of 65. But we still now have to multiply that by 3. And this is where we would use our more formal methods of multiplication, which we've already gone through this year in school, so you need to think back to that, where you would use the column method, the short multiplication method, to calculate your answer. So here we have 3 multiplied by 5, which would give us 15. And then we have 3 multiplied by 6 to give us 18, and adding the 1 to give us 19. And the final step is to rewrite our answer in the correct place. Now remember, if you do not know your times tables, please write them down at the side of your calculation to help you do it. Don't give up, write it down. Use your fingers if you need to, but write it down. Let's look at another one. 12.56 times by 400. This time we can see we've got a multiple of 100 this time, not a multiple of 10. So again, we can break the number 400 down into 4 times by 100. And then we can rewrite our question as 12.56 times by 100 times by 4. Now through breaking this question down again, we have actually simplified the question, and we start again with the first multiplication, which was 12.56 times by 100. We can see in the number 100 that there are 2 zeros, so we do the 2 jumps forward because we have times, and remember, time moves forward, so we go 1, 2. Remember, there are 2 jumps because there are 2 zeros in the number 100. If we were timesing by 1000, we would do the 3 jumps. If we were timesing by 10, we would just do the single jump. Now, through those jumps, we have moved the decimal point, so we can cross out, get rid of, or ignore the old decimal point. And then underneath, we write our answer. Again, that is the answer to 12.56 multiplied by 100. However, our question wanted us to multiply by 400. So at this point now, we have to multiply by 4. Again here, we use our formal method of multiplication here, short multiplication method, and we write down our 1256, and we are multiplying it this time by 4. 4 times by 6 is 24. Again, if you do not know your times tables, please write them down. 4 times 5 is 20, add the 2 is 22. 4 times 2 is 8, add the 2 is 10. And 4 times 1 is 4, add the 1 that we've carried is 5. And then the last step we have to do is to put our answer in the correct place. So we can see that through partitioning, through splitting up, through breaking down our multiple of 10, 100 or 1000, we can actually make the problem very, very simple. So now I'd like you to do again here is pause the video in one moment so that you can have a go at questions number 3, 4 and 5, and then we will go through the answers. Remember to break down the question. So for example, 750 times by 3, how can we make 20 more simple? We could put it down as 10 times by 2, and therefore now we have a much more simple question. So please can you pause your screen again here so that you have enough time to answer the questions, and then press play once you have finished answering the questions. So please press pause now. Okay, so we should have finished answering the questions now, and we're going to look at the answers. So for the question, the number 3, as we said earlier, you should have split the 20 into 10 times 2. We should have split, in number 4, the 6,000 into 1,000 times by 6. And we should have split the 500 into 100 times by 5. If you didn't do that, have another go now and see if you can get the right answers. But please mark your answers against the question, against the correct ones on the board. As I say, if you didn't realise that you could split the 6,000 to 1,000 times by 6, try it now. Try 4.23 times by 1,000 using the method we looked at earlier, and then multiply your answer by 6, and we should get to the correct answer. And the same with the 500. Okay? But mark your work, please, and then we're going to move on now. So this time we're looking at more difficult questions, okay? And we're looking at remembering or making sure we understand that the equal sign means nothing other than is the same as. As long as we remember that the equal sign means is the same as, then we will be okay with these questions. Let's have a look at a couple again. So 7.5 times by 1,000 is the same as 75 times something, or 7.5 times 1,000 equals 75 times something. To answer this sort of question, the first thing we are going to do is work out the complete side of the equal sign. So we can see here we've got something missing, so we cannot work this out yet, but we can work out this side of the equal sign because there is nothing missing and therefore it is complete. So again, we can see we've got a times sign, so we're going to move forward. We can see there are 3 zeros in the number 1,000, so we're going to do 3 jumps forward. We rewrite our original number, 7.5 in this case, and then we do our 3 jumps forward. And at this point, we have got a new decimal point. We can cross out the old decimal point, and again we can see here that we have 2 gaps under our jumps, so we need to be using 2 placeholders. So now I have calculated the answer to 7.5 times by 1000. So what I can do next here is I can substitute this answer in to the sum. So instead of writing 7.5 times by 1000, I can now just write 7,500, because I have worked out that 7.5 times 1000 is 7,500, and I can then complete the rest of the question. So now this makes it a little easier for ourselves, because instead of having a calculation on one side and a calculation on the other, now we've just got a number, an answer on one side, and a calculation on the other with a missing number. So now what we need to do is we need to look at this number 75, and we need to think, what can we multiply 75 by to get to 7,500? So I can take my 75, and remember what I said earlier, if there's no decimal point in the number, it comes at the end of the number. It is hiding at the end of the number. Remember, the reason for that is because there is just 0, there is nothing after the decimal point, so we do not need to write it. So we can see 75 has no decimal in it, so it goes at the end. And we need to get 75, and we need to take it to 7,500. So let's think about how many jumps of this decimal point we would need to do to get to that. Some of you may be able to recognise this straight away, and therefore you will be able to put the answer in straight away, but if you can't, do not worry. Let's look at it together now. So let's see how many jumps we need to do. If I do just the 1 jump here, I'm going to be putting in 1 0 here. Have I got to 7,500 yet? No, I haven't. I've only got to 750. So let's try another jump. Have I now got to 7,500? Let's have a look. 7,500, 7,500. So I can see now that I have got to the number 7,500. Now the question is, how many jumps did I do? Well, I can count. I did 1, 2. So I did 2 jumps to get from 75 to 7,500. And this is where our knowledge of what we did earlier helps us. Because what we were multiplying by if we were doing 2 jumps? Again, the clue is with the zeros, and we actually are multiplying, if we are doing 2 jumps, by the number 100. And straight away there, I have answered this question. Let's have a look at another one. 20 times 100 equals 0.02 times something. Again, it looks a challenging question because we've got a calculation here and a calculation here. However, we always find the complete side and we calculate that first. We look here, is this side complete? No, it is not, because we've got a missing value here. This side, the left hand side of the equal sign, is complete though. There is no missing value. Again, we know multiply or time moves forward. We can see there are 2 zeros in the number 100, so we are going to do 2 jumps. We have the number 20 as our original number, and we have the decimal point once again at the end because there is no visible decimal point in the number 20. Here again now, we do 2 jumps forward, so we have moved our decimal point, so we can cross out or get rid of the other one. We had the gaps underneath the jumps, so we fill them with placeholders. You should have got the hang of that by now. And now we have got the answer to 20 times by 100. We can see that the answer to that is 2,000. Now I can substitute that answer in to my question. So 2,000 is equal to 0.02 times something. Let's have a look at this then. We're going to rewrite our number here, 0.02, and we're going to jump until we get to the number 2,000. So let's try 1, 2. Have I got to 2,000 now if my decimal point is here? No, because I've just got the number 2 then. Third jump, Fourth jump, if I fill in my placeholders, have I got to the number 2000? I haven't yet. One more jump, have I got to the number 2000? And I can see here, I have now reached the number 2000. Again now, I count my jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I did 5 jumps this time. That means I need to have 5 zeros. So therefore, 0.02 times by 100,000 would give me 2,000. The only thing left to do is to put my answer in the correct place. Again, we know it is 100,000 because we did 5 jumps to get from 0.02 to 2,000, so we have a 1 with 5 zeros after it to show the 5 jumps that we did. Okay, please can you have a go now at these questions, number 3, 4, 5 and 6. So please pause the video again here, have a go at the questions, give yourself enough time to do those, and then press play again and you'll have the chance to mark your own work. So we should have all finished those questions by now, and therefore we are ready to look at the answers. So here, 7.5 times by 1000 is the same as 75 times by 100. 20 times by 100, the missing number was 10,000. Number 3, the missing number was 1. Number 4, the missing number was 1,000. Number 5, 100. And number 6, 100. So, that brings the end to our actual online session. However, all of you must now log on to Class Dojo and complete the maths activity which has been set for today. Now, the activity is also available in Microsoft Teams. However, completed work must be sent to us by 11 o'clock today. All completed maths must be sent to your teacher. Okay. Now remember, if you are struggling with this, me and Miss Beck are both live on Microsoft Teams from 10:30 until 11 o'clock this morning to give you support with the work. Please, 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 if you are struggling, log on at that time, and that will give you the chance to ask any questions that you want to ask of us. Okay? If you have completed the work confidently, then you do not need to log on to that session. Okay? And we will see you at the next session later on today. But if you are struggling, please log on at 10:30 onto Teams, and you will be able to ask the questions live to either myself or Miss Beck. Okay? Remember, the activity is on Class Dojo. As soon as you've completed it, send it across to us, and we will mark you off our register as completed the work. If your work is not with us by 11 o'clock, your parents will be receiving a phone call. So please make sure you have sent it to us by 11 o'clock. And again, finally, if you are struggling, log on at 10:30 onto Microsoft Teams, and you will have the chance to speak to either myself or Miss Beck and ask any questions that you need. So off you go, access the questions please on Class Dojo, send them across to us before 11, and I will see you later on today. Thank you very much.